Truth Talks. Please, I'm excited about the Truth Talks. They are addressing true fellowship and what it means, what true fellowship and corporate worship looks like according to the Bible.
We in Kings 19, getting ready to transition. I even put a little paper clip there so I wouldn't forget for y'all. Just getting ready to transition to 19. That's what I said. I ain't leave you out there. So what I'm trying to say is we have had a lot of time away. All right. And if somebody was to come to me and ask me, I would say, well, I would have to start off with Elijah. If you ask me about him and say, first thing he did is he told the king that it wasn't going to be no rain. From there, he ran. Or was he led? He was led because this time it's going to be different. The reason why I'm bringing up the old Elijah, because we're getting ready to see a new Elijah. In the sense of the fear that's going to come. All right, the first time he listened. Go, sit by the water, you'll be fed. Ravens, water daily. Everybody else is suffering. Next thing you know, I'm showing how Elijah carried this faithfulness all the way up to this point. And if you remember the story, Elijah never wavered. He didn't run from Ahab. He was led there to be provided for during the famine. When he came back, he was led there somewhere else to say, hey, go to this lady's house. She's going to be waiting for you. She's going to give her your last. He was led there. Elijah was led to everywhere. Even out there to go and beef with the 850 priests of Baal and Asherah. All right. So even then, Elijah's being led there. And then we get out there, we don't just see Elijah lacking courage. We see Elijah double down in courage by mocking. Do you understand what happens when somebody mocks? We live in this modern age, right? Where if somebody mock God, we just kind of say, all right, that person is whoever he is, and we walk away because we understand it. The Lord has given us instructions to say, vengeance is mine, thus said the Lord. You say, hey, I'm going to pray for you because you're already in a bad way. But Elijah took it one step further, because in this time, mocking a God meant death. You sitting out there, you're mocking a God, and why didn't they just snatch Elijah up and kill him that day? It was a challenge, right? That they had the man that all of Israel had been looking for right there, issued out a challenge with no guards. 1 on 850. Wouldn't it have been simpler for them to just look at Elijah and say, hey, why are we doing this challenge? Let's just kill him. And then make up a notion that, hey, he was delivered to us, right? I mean, and again, this isn't me trying to create a narrative. This is me showing you the scriptures. Because the Israelites, every time an enemy came into their hand, what did they say? Yahweh has delivered our enemies into our hands. And they would take it as a gift. But these guys worshiped a God that they couldn't even grasp that concept. The delivery of an enemy. But Elijah knew what he was doing. Elijah knew that when he stepped out there to ask for that fire to come from heaven, that who had been delivered into his hands? His enemies. You get what I'm saying? I'm showing you every step of Elijah up until this point exhibited bravery. Elijah has been very brave up until this point. So let's continue. That's what I was asking. I was trying to get y'all to do it so I could have just said, let's continue. It's fun when we read together and everybody can pull out the illustrations of the story. I know I got a pretty cool voice and everything, and y'all love to hear it. But I like to hear y'all voice too. You know, these recaps are for us. So whatever you think, did I miss anything? Don't tell me I did just because I'm here and I'm standing here. Obadiah, let's not forget him. What was one of the things see, this is why it's good to do a recap. What happened with Obadiah and Elijah?
Running into him when he didn't want it.
Obadiah did. And what did Obadiah say to Elijah? Think about these things and say, man, how does this apply in real time? Obadiah seen Elijah and said, hey, you want me to do what with this message? And why was he afraid? Why was Obadiah afraid of delivering that message?
He went back, he might not be there.
Because he said, Elijah, you are what? It's not just about not being there. It was a very specific reason that Elijah was afraid. Obadiah was afraid, not because of Elijah's words, Because he said what about Elijah possibly not being there?
If God tells you to go, you
So
go.
he acknowledged. So it wasn't just, hey, don't tell me the message. I don't want to deliver the message. It was like, are you sure you're going to be here when I get back? So these things, they come into factors when we look at this story, because it's a lot that, as we see, even the people who are dealing with Elijah knows that Elijah is not in control. So this bravery that we see is really underlining Elijah is just being obedient everywhere he went. So it's always been said, during church or service or any type of Bible study, any conversation, if you're saved in this lifetime won't end for you until you're saved. Now, that doesn't mean that the world won't end, but you'll be saved before it happens. And if we knew that, if we can operate in these things, don't you think you'll be a little bit more fearless? Like, every one of us in here knows our end. Why aren't we? Not saying we aren't, but you could say, why aren't you more fearless? Because we know our spiritual end. We don't know our physical body end, but Elijah knew that everywhere he was going to be sent by God, and no harm was going to come to him. Now, some may say, when we look at the scriptures, it never really pointed out why or how did Elijah know all of these things? How did he know what was coming? Well, he was obedient to God, and God revealed his plan. So everywhere and why I'm saying this is because the shift is coming with Elijah. But I want to point out to you, because so many people have pointed this out to me, is when this shift comes, anybody know what shift I'm talking about? Which one? Go ahead.
The shift you talk about him not being led by God, he just made, but he went the other way, baby.
He went the other way.
He ran away.
And that was because he was what? He was afraid. He was fearful. Elijah is getting ready to change his mode of operation. However, like I said, I want you to understand Elijah's fear wasn't fear how you and I think it was, all right? So let's get back into the story. They said 1841. Yep. So, if we go back, we know that the fire came down and it consumed the ascending offering because God sent it down. And then Elijah said to Ahab, go up, eat and drink, because of the sound of the noise of the rain. So right now, the rain has not, shoestring untied. The rain has not came, right? He's telling them, go get you some grub. Go sit down. You hear that thunderous noise? It's coming. So as he's saying that, and Ahab went up to eat and drink, and Elijah went up to the top of Mount Carmel, and he bowed down to the ground and put his face between his knees and said to his servant, go up, please look closely towards the sea. So he went up and looked closely and said, not a speck. And seven times he said, go again. All right. So he just told Ahab, go get you something to eat, because it's going to get rain. So Ahab, in the midst of everything that just happened, listen to Elijah. I want y'all to understand, Ahab did exactly what Elijah said to do. He went and ate. Now, a king's procession, because Ahab is still what? Even though it's a famine, he went to where he went to, and he sat and ate. We know that Ahab took this instruction as seriously. All of the other things that he told him, y'all don't kill that man over there. The prophets come. The one thing that Ahab always listened to is, go get yourself a meal. I think that's the second time Ahab has been told to go eat. And he's like, you know what? I think I'm going to go eat is a great idea. So he goes to eat. All right. And he tells Elijah tells his servant. Now this servant, I know a lot of people will say, who is this servant? They have questions. It's not Elisha. It's not yet. It's just a servant, someone who's attending Ahab. We don't really get a name. We just say it's somebody who's out there who's doing it. So Ahab is not Ahab. Elijah's not alone. All right. So, and it came to be the seventh time that he said, see a little cloud as small as as a man's hand coming out of the sea. And he said, go up and say to Ahab, hitch up and go down before the rain stops you. All right. So the conversation at the house today was, why did Elijah run so fast? I know we ain't got there yet, but Elijah going to get some jets. All right. And the conversation in the house was several things. Was he running fast to beat Ahab to the town and tell him about the rain? Was he running fast to the town to give Ahab another chance? Or did Elijah just want to show off his super speed, his superhero speed? Well, let us all know that we'd ask God before the rain, we might be able to run pretty quick to get in the house. Now, I don't know how fast Elijah ran, but I do know that I've seen many mornings where you get out your car and somehow that dart you make across from the parking lot to whatever building you go in, no water touch you. So I'm not saying how fast Elijah was running, but we do know that he had the jets on. We don't really know the reason why he ran, but we do know that the rain was coming. We do know that the rain from a distance looked like a hand. I mean, these clouds was coming. All right. Some may say this was the hand of God. I don't know. I just go off what I see here, that it was rain clouds that looked like the size of a hand. He already warned Ahab about the thunder that was coming. So now we see. Now you go to Ahab and say, hey, man, go to Ahab, hitch up, and go down before the rain stops you. All right, well, it's time to go. And in the meantime, it came to be that the heavens became black with clouds and the winds, and there was a heavy rain while Ahab rode and went to Israel. So Ahab is on the move now. All right. And the hand of the Lord was on Elijah, and he girded up his loins and ran ahead of Ahab to the entrance. Now, could have been for other reasons that Elijah was running faster than Ahab. He wanted to get to the town and let the people know that what happened, everything that transpired. He beat a king on foot. This would have been a story that everybody would have told. Like, it's not so much just about the running. You have to see what the running would have brought about in Israel. You have a king that is coming with the rain that is supposed to come. You have a prophet that gets there before and tells everything that's going to happen, because that's what prophets did, right? So he ran. Now, the rain comes, right? Because obviously he made it there. In his running, like I said earlier, we had a conversation that was, did he run to get there because he was afraid? Maybe if I stop Ahab from getting to the town, is fear a part of his running? So why did he run? What was his reason for running? Anybody else got
For running was because he was trying to give. Well, we know the story. We know Ahab
Yeah, go ahead.
would have died, but when I first read it, I thought he was trying to get there before Ahab to give him, so God would give him another chance. Because he literally just seen everything that happened, all the prophets and all of them. So I'm thinking if you see it, why don't you turn to God? I'm thinking he was giving him another chance to repent, but I don't know.
The speed? Well, I can see that. And whatever the reason for Elijah's running ahead, we all know that, again, Elijah was the waymaker, right? So the drought being a drought for 3 years and some months would have been considered what type of news? No, I mean, if the rain had been held up from the sky, the land would have considered that everybody who was coming to profess the clouds being shut up as what type of news? So let's go back to the beginning. When Elijah told Ahab the rain wasn't coming, what kind of news was that? Bad news. It was horrible news. Now Ahab is in his cart, and Elijah has went to the cave, and he see the hands coming bringing the rain. So what is Elijah's role now, beating Ahab to the town? It ain't got nothing to do with. There you go. So what is Elijah's role now, being faster than the king? He is bringing the good news of rain coming before the king's chariot even get there. Who would have been? What did Ahab go out to announce? What did Ahab go out looking for before he bumped into Elijah? See, sometimes when we see what the end of it is, Ahab's initial mission was to go out and look for what? For his flock. Right. So if Ahab and Elijah are in the same boat, and Elijah is not withholding the information from the king. Again, God is not withholding information from Ahab. God's not withholding information from Ahab so much that he told Ahab when he was going to die. So no information is being held from Ahab. But it's always, Ahab, you'll always be 1 second slower than the actual good news of what's coming, because I'm going to take it from you. Every time you run, I'm going to beat you there. So when 8 gets there, Elijah's the first one to tell of what? The rain. This whole thing was like, Elijah's not being kind to Ahab because he tells him to go and eat. Elijah has not been kind to any of the prophets. Why would he be kind to the king of those prophets? Go. Go eat. Go eat and be merry, because the rain is coming and I'm going to deliver that message. And Ahab went and did just that. He went and ate. After getting beat, after everything happened, he went and ate. He listened to him, and Elijah said, all right, now that I know the rain is coming, he took off ahead of him to deliver that good news of rain coming to the people, because the people had already seen what happened with the Baal worship. So, all right, we don't already struck the thing that y'all call God. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is prove to you that the gods of the heaven is going to open back up the heavens and bring rain. And I'm going to deliver this message before the king, because who would have delivered that message? Well, obviously, people would have got rained on, but the king would have told him, hey, rain is coming. All right. So now, go ahead.
Fourth thing we read is that then the hand of the Lord came upon Elijah.
Mm-hmm. He strengthened him.
He strengthened him. He leading him on. And then when he girded up to go started running.
He strengthened
Strengthened up for that has to be done to deliver the news.
to beat a chariot. So that anytime we hear this story, we'll always say that a man on foot ran faster than a chariot to deliver the good news about the coming rain to bring people out of years of famine. Man, think about how them people would have rejoiced. And when we look at Elijah as the waymaker, what he brought to those people was an end to all of their pain and suffering in some way. And he even reversed suffering, because the lady said, well, did you come here just to kill my son? No, I didn't. I came here to show you the power of God. Everything he's showing is the power of God. He can move, the news could get there faster. Swiftness. Elijah has been strengthened by God. And it only took the very next sentence to weaken him. Go ahead.
If Ahab would have got there first, then he would have been looked at as the bringer of rain. And that would have not been prophecy.
It would have not been. Ahab came out, he left for a reason. If he would have got back before Elijah, we would hear the story completely different. Ahab's name would have been elevated. He would have been, oh, the king brings the rain because it's chariot, but Elijah gets there first to the entrance. So in this time frame, everybody would have said, Elijah brings the rain. They would have looked at not the king. Now this just elevated Elijah over the king, because he's the one that brought the rain. He's the one that brought the news of it. All right. Now, Elijah and Ahab have already had their dealings. Ahab is back to himself again. The rain came. Ahab said, Elijah hurt my feelings. He killed all them prophets out there. How many was it? I think it's like 850 in total. He was just, after they consumed the thing, he pointed out, get them next. So Elijah is a warrior in a different way. He calling down the rains of fire from the sky, taking out people. And when Ahab reported this to Jezebel, so Ahab goes back now and reports to Jezebel all that Elijah had done, also how he slew all the prophets with the sword. Now check this out. When we see Ahab report all that Elijah has done, what did he go back and tell Jezebel? What did he report? Well, y'all think he just went, because he said that's the second part. That's an actual second part. If you listen to it, part 1 and part 2, it says, Ahab reported to Jezebel all that Elijah had done, comma, all plus, you got it, plus how he slew all the prophets with the sword. So what did Ahab go back and tell Jezebel?
He embellished a little bit. I think he wanted to, it seems here like he's telling her Elijah did this by himself with the sword, killed all these 850 people himself with the sword.
I'm talking about the mocking of their gods and the whole 9 word.
And then he brought the rain.
He's riling Jezebel up. He wanted her to be as mad as he. possibly can make
It
her.
don't take long to get her mess.
Because of what, you know, what he's weak.
Right.
He's weak. He
Yeah.
depends on Jezebel to. I mean, she actually ran things.
She's a man.
So let me make her. Let me embellish this a little bit. And let me tell you, you did this, you did that, and you did that. And maybe you didn't do all of that.
I look at this a little different. You know what I think Ahab went back and told her? Everything. You know Elijah's out here, and I bumped into him. And come to find out, because the news in town is, he over here feeding ladies during the famine, making oil multiply. He's bringing people back to life, Jezebel. We have to do something about him. Oh my goodness. He's out here, and he's starting fires at the pit. He slayed them with the sword. He tells her everything. Because when you see everything Elijah did, it was all against Baal and Asheroth worship. So when he's telling her everything, to go back and just say, oh, he took out the prophets with the sword. Well, Jezebel was doing that on her side. He would have to reveal something to her that takes Elijah, even though he's part of the story with the sword, but really is acknowledging everything that God has done through Elijah. And this is where Jezebel gets infuriated. She's mad now because you're not doing this through Baal. You've destroyed all of my prophets. You killed them all. And you out here making the people of the land better. And you're going against the king. Remember, everything would have been how fast Elijah ran. He wouldn't have spared anything. Ahab wouldn't have spared what he told Jezebel. Why would he? Go ahead.
Went back, and I mean, the truth, he probably told her that he challenged the prophets. You know, he challenged our God. And
His God
his
is
God.
more superior than our God. That's what he told her.
In every way.
Yeah.
In every way. Life bringing, water giving, food giving. Like, and she's thinking like, man, he's the king. Like, he's taking over. This is his rule. Elijah's a bad man because she does something very unique. She sends a messenger, not to kill him. Why wouldn't you? After everything he did, this is the respect that she has, that she understands. And when I say respect, I'm talking about she understands what realm she's dealing with now. Or maybe she doesn't, because she opens her mouth and says something very, well, it was already coming to her way anyway. And Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah saying, so let the gods, or here it might say mighty ones, so let the gods do to me and more also, if I do not make your life as the life of the ones of them by tomorrow about this time. So she took that tale in. She said, all right, Ahab, I hear everything you said, but tomorrow, what he did to the prophets over there from my temples and everything, I'm going to do to him. I'm coming for him. So now we see the turn. We see this brave man who just called down fire from heaven. 850 people slaughtered that day. The people are behind him. He's brought the rain. Now what? Huh? Jezebel is after me. It took all of this to show us the humanity of Elijah. Because as I said before, when I started telling the story about Elijah was just a shepherd from Tibet, Tisbe, who was just sitting there that day and got tagged to go and do great things. He never took the job that he was doing as a role that was above everybody else. He took the job in obedience and went and did everything he wanted to do. But here's where we see the flaw of Elijah being born of a woman. Not saying that like is bad, or you can say born of a man, when David says, in sin, my mother conceived me, meaning he came from a woman's womb. That continues on because she either made a man or a woman. So we see Elijah right here becomes very human because he always was. He never was nothing special. He didn't have magical powers. He was obedient, and where he went, he did what the Lord told him to do, which made him look supernatural. So now we see Elijah's human side. We see.
Good you mentioned it, because sometimes we look at the stories in the Bible. We see Moses, Elijah, Abraham, sometimes I feel like these were great men. That's why God chose them. They were just known people.
They was just chilling that day.
Their names just happen to be in the Old Testament that we read. If they was reading our stories as, you know, each saints in the church, they would see that we are great as well. I think in the New Testament it says somewhere that we are better.
We'll do greater things than they are.
Just want to point that out.
Look, I'm one here to point out the simplicity of man, but the power of God in that man. So when we look at Elijah, we start to see the humanness. We start to see the fractures in his life, the living part. All right, we seen Elijah do all these great things because he was never in the path of death. Elijah has always been in the path of life. When there was a famine, he got water. You have to think. Nothing has threatened Elijah's life up until this point. As the normal man, the shepherd, yeah, he went on a run, but when he was on a run, he was taken care of. He wasn't even on a run. He went to where the water was because he was led that way. Then he was led here. He never was afraid because he was always taken care of when he went somewhere. This is the first time he believed in his heart of hearts that the Lord has took his hand off of me. I got to be afraid because Jezebel wants to kill me. Now, this is what it says. And he feared, this is after Jezebel, he feared, rose up and ran for his life. His life. His life had become an object of attention for him. Before, everything he did because God told him to. Now he's actually doing it for his own life. His life is in the picture. It says it right here. And he feared and rose up and he ran for his life. No longer was he thinking about the mission that God had him to do. It was his life that he was concerned with. And he went to Bathsheba. Now, where's Bathsheba? In Judah. So which means he ran from where he had his mission at to a safe haven. Because remember, what is Judah right now? Upright. No problems. All the priests, I believe Jehoshaphat is out here telling everybody, fear the Lord. Get it together. Tear this down. Build that up, right? So when we see this, we see Elijah now goes off course. He leaves his mission because he fears for the one thing that God has always was covering at every step, his life. All right? So, and he went to Bathsheba, which belongs to Judah, and he left his servants there. But himself went a day's journey into the wilderness, so we're still close, we're still in Judah, and he came and he sat down under a broom tree and prayed that he might what? So he fears for his life, but the thing that he's praying for is death. So it made me think and said, is it not enough? Now, Lord, take my life, for I am no better than my father. Why? This is deep despair. Like he's crying for his life. Like he's wore out, right? So what will be, when we see Elijah, it's always taught that he wanted to go and commit suicide. He wanted to just, end it all right there. And I felt like that too. So in some of the teachings hearing it like, man, Elijah, you got that far. And then I had to look on somebody else who suffered the same. And he begged for his life to end. Anybody know where I'm going? Huh? Job 3. So we all know the story of Job, or a quick recap. Y'all need it? All right. So we know that when we get to Job 3, Job is now asking something very specific. Job is in pain. Job has lost his family. All of everything that has been circled around Job has died. Job 3. So Job is miserable. All right. Everybody around Job is telling Job that he should what? Curse God. So we see Job curse everything but God. Days, times. But we also see Job beg for death. And it's in the sense of what Elijah, in my heart, when I hear Elijah beg for death, it's the same as Job. It's not because of I just don't want to live anymore. It's understanding the circumstances around you. And this is why Job got corrected, because Elijah didn't understand that he was still in God's hands. All right, after this, Job opened his mouth and cursed the day of his birth. And Job spoke and said, let the day perish on which I was born. In the night, in the night it was said, a man has been conceived. Let that day be darkness. Let not God from above seek for it, nor let light shine upon it. Let darkness and the shadow of death redeem it. Let a cloud dwell on it, and let all that blackens the day frighten it. The night, let darkness seize it. Let it not be included amongst the days of the year. Let it not come into the numbers of the month. Let that night be silent. Let no saying come on to it. Let those curse it who curse the day, who are ready to stir up Leviathan. Let the stars of his twilight be dark. Let it wait for light, but have none. And let it not see the eyelashes of the dawn. For it did not shut up the doors of my mother's womb, nor hide trouble from my eyes. So you see, he's painting a picture here of the day he was born. The day he was born, he's saying, I will reflect on that day as a day of destruction. It would have been better if that day was erased off the calendar. He wished he wasn't born, but since he's alive, he's wishing for death. He's giving you his reason behind this wish. Now, we know that Job was in pain, but as we listen, there you go. Thank you. Why did I not die from the womb? Come forth from the belly and expire. Why were the knees to receive me, or the breast for me to suck? For now I have been lying in peace. For now I would have been lying in peace. I would have slept and would have been at rest. So we see that some of what Elijah is dealing with. When we talk about rest, you don't have to go there. What was the one thing that God promised Solomon? We've been covering Kings. When he promised Solomon, he didn't promise it to Solomon. He told David that Solomon would have it. He would have it all around him. What was that? Peace. In other words, rest. Israel will be at rest. But as we see, Job here is talking about not having any rest. With kings and counselors of the earth who built ruins for themselves. This wasn't a compliment to the kings that's saying they're building up stuff, because now he's talking about why this rest needs to come. Or with the rulers who had gold, who filled their houses with silver, or had hidden or as a hidden untimely birth, as an infant who never slept. So he's saying, hey, I should have died. So when we see this proclamation of death here, it's different than what we understand when the righteous is asking for death, because they're not just asking for it for just to end it all. Like they're saying it's no peace around me with the people, the land. Everybody wants your servant. Because remember Job never denied being a servant of God. Wants your servant dead. Now here we go. There the wrong cease raging, and there the weary are at rest. See now how it's starting to illustrate the type of death that is being looked for? The prisoners rest together. They do not hear the voices of their oppressor. The small and the great are there, and the servant is free from his master. Why does he give light to the sufferers and life to the bitter of being, who are waiting for death, but it does not come, and search for it more than treasure? So he's saying, there's people out here who want to die. They out here searching for it, but I'm here begging for it. You won't give it to me. I'm standing here in it, and I'm giving you the words of Job, but I'm translating them into the mouth of Elijah. I'm standing here waiting for you to come and take me to the permanent land of rest. Now we see why the chariot came later, because of this request. He wanted to be at rest, at peace. So and we go ahead, waiting for death, but it does not come, and search for it more than treasure, who rejoice exceedingly. They are glad when they find a burial site. Now, we've been talking about a lot of burial sites here. When he does give light to man who has been hidden, in whom God has hedged in. ? For my signs come before I eat, and my groanings pour out like water. For that which I have greatly feared has come upon me, and that which I dread has overtaken me. I have not been at ease, nor have I been undisturbed, nor been at rest, yet trouble comes. And if I'm at 6, y'all stay right there. And Job answered and said, oh, that my grief were thoroughly weighed and my calamities placed on a scale, for it would outweigh the sands of the sea. Therefore, my words have been rash, for the arrows of the Almighty are with me. My spirit drinks in their poisons, and the onslaught of God arrays against me. So now we see that the type of death that Elijah is asking is not a, I want to commit suicide death. He's saying, I've done all of this in Israel. I've performed the miracles. I've given way to everything that was supposed to be seen. I've been obedient. Remember, I was just standing in the front yard and you came to get me. Now everything that I've done has led me to the point where I have no rest. Jezebel wants to kill me. I would rather be with you than be here. Does that sound very familiar? It was another person that came a lot later that was an apostle that kind of echoed, there you go, that echoed this same message. I would rather be dead, but it is for me to stay and spread the gospel. So when we see Elijah saying, I want to die, it doesn't mean that he's not understanding what's needed. He has reached the bottom and saying that there is nothing left here that will give me rest amongst these people. Just let me die, Lord. I've did everything you asked for. So now we can see this pain, and when we hear people asking for death in the scriptures, it's not a suicidal death. We have examples of that. Saul falling on his sword, Judas hanging himself. This is here is asking for release, rest, peace from everything around me. So the same way that Job was asking for release, Elijah is now asking for release. All right. And he laid down and he slept under the broom tree, and a messenger touched him and said to him, rise, eat. So he took a nap. Somebody came and tapped and said, get up, eat. And he looked and he saw by his head a cake and a coal, or a cake on a coal, and a jar of water. So he ate and drank and turned. And what did he do? So we can tell that Elijah is in despair. He got up, he ate. But we see that also there's something different about this despair. Because what did they have? And I like to put, not to put the people in the Bible against each other, but put the understandings of what those situations were for those people and put them side by side. When Saul heard the bad news of his death of his son and him on the battlefield, what did he do? Fell into despair, right? He laid on the ground, right? And what did the witch come by and say? All right, you got to go, but you need to eat. Because you still got to get up out of here and you got to move. You need the food. So even in despair, Elijah is still being provided for. And it's a reason why. And he lay and he slept. And he looked and he saw by his head the cake's cold. And the messenger of the Lord came back a second time. And he touched him. And he said, rise and eat, for the journey is too much for you. You need nourishment. The upcoming journey is too much for you. Now, we had a lot of time off. What's the upcoming journey?
Yep.
2 months.
You got
Yeah.
it.
I didn't hear what.
Got to go to the mountain.
All right. So he got some traveling to do. Now, this mountain is very particular. Who else been to this mountain? Now, I looked up, and I'm not saying this as a fact. I looked it up. When you look up the mountains that everyone stood on, and then the mountain of transfiguration, they're kind of they in the area, they say they're all close. All right, but who did Jesus make a booth with? He made a booth. It was 3 people up there, and I'm not, when I say make a booth with, he conversed with them. And Peter said make a booth with them. But who? It was Moses and Elijah. I'm not saying that this is the conversation that Jesus had on a mountain with Elijah. I'm not saying that Jesus was there talking to Moses, but it's very funny that they keep going to this mountain, and those were the two that were on the mountain. Even certain things that happened in the Old Testament would have taken place on a mountain that Jesus would have done there physically in front of him. Now, am I saying that Jesus, when he stepped into reality, also crushed the whole time warp by doing things like, man, I gotta write this thing for Moses real quick. Oh, y'all challenging me about this adulterous woman. Perfect time to write the law. I don't know what he wrote down in the dirt. Sometimes I assume that he might have wrote the law in there, and that was when he was writing it for Moses. Why operate in multiple parts of time when I can just operate in this one time and get it all done? I needed to talk to Elijah. Well, he was up in the cave that day, and Moses was over there that day. And we know that they may have seen him in his glory, but I don't know. But we do know Elijah, he made it, he ran to the mountain. And this mountain has been one where a lot of people will go because it is God's mountain. All right. So he has some running, he has some journeying to do. Don't you think he wish he would still had that speed that he had that other day? Like, I ate the bread, God. You think you can do that little speed thing you did for me? Because I was pretty fast. I was faster than chariot. Nah, you gonna hump these 40 days and 40 nights because you went up in this cave talking about you was ready to cancel Christmas or Hanukkah or Passover. He was ready to cancel one of them holidays that was coming up. So as we see this, we see that he tell him get ready for the journey. And he rose up and drank and went in the strength of that food 40 days, 40 nights, as far as Hebron and the mountain of God. And there he went into a cave and he spent the night there. So now he out. He has went, he has eaten, he has ran far, he's got away. So now he's in the cave. And he said, in the cave, hold on, 9, right? And there he went into the cave and spent the night there. And see, the word of the Lord came to him and said to him, what are you doing here, Elijah? Wait a minute. Didn't you just send a messenger to me and told me to eat and get myself together? Why is God asking Elijah this type of question when Elijah was told to go there? Am I missing something? Right? Did I skip any details? This question to Elijah is very funny because if Elijah would have never ran in the first place, he wouldn't have had to take a 40-day travel just to get asked a question that could have got asked in the cave. It sounds crazy, but it was for a need. 40 days in between, huh? Man, very peculiar how much the salvation of this whole thing. So if I had to put things in perspective, I want y'all to just follow me here a little bit. Israel has just been saved. The Savior is now disappeared. 40 days, he's gone. The only people that have been seeing Elijah is his servants. But he tells them, go away, go away. So his servants aren't even with him. Elijah is now alone in the cave with God. And God is asking him a question. Why are you here? Now, the proper answer would have been, because you told me to, Lord. And I think, I don't like to think for God. I don't, because my brain ain't even that, it ain't built like that. But if somebody I sent to the cave and they came and they told me, hey, and I asked them, why are they here? A proper answer from me would have been, because you told me to come. That would have been the truth, right? All right, so, and he said, I have been very jealous for the Lord of hosts. Yahweh, it says Yahweh, Lord of hosts, God of hosts. For the children of Israel have forsaken your covenant. They have thrown down your slaughter places or your sacrificial altars and have killed your prophets with the sword. And I am left, I alone, and they seek my life to take it. So he gave him his answer. His answer was, I'm here because I've done everything you asked me to do, Lord. Now, this is when they say paraphrasing and saying it, I've done everything you asked me to do, Lord. I've been jealous for you. If I seen somebody doing, I've done it all. I've went to them. I went to the towns. I did all this. And yet, they still want to kill me for doing what you told me to do. Sound very familiar, huh? Very familiar. Huh?
Was he the last?
He wasn't. In his mind, he was. In his mind, he was the last of everything. He's seeing the burning prophets. He's seeing the people rise up. Elijah had slipped into despair. We see it. Some people can consider this depression, where he was at. Going through a lot of stages. So he told the Lord the truth. I fought for you. I did all this thing, everything. Now listen what it said. Because Elijah is standing on some very big feet by saying, probably his first mistake, I have been very jealous for you, God. You're the God of armies. I've been jealous for you, for your children. And what have they done? Everywhere I go and I try to reestablish something, they throw it down. The people, they kill people like me. In fact, they kill people like me so much, God, that I'm the last one left. I'm the only one. My nose running like crazy. And he said, go out before the mountain for the Lord and see the Lord pass by. And a great and strong wind tearing the mountain and breaking the rocks into pieces before the Lord. And the Lord was not in the wind. Why did he tell him to go out and look at the wind? All right, okay. Because Elijah just laid down something in front of God to tell him, hey, man, I'm out here doing all of this for you. I need you to show me something. I need you to show me what you got. Because I ain't going back out here. I don't got my bread, my water, my little raven food. I'm not going back. Saw the wind tear the mountain, but God was not the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake, and God was not the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire, and God was not the fire. And after the fire, a still small voice. And it came to be, when Elijah heard it, that he wrapped his face in his robe and went out and stood at the cave opening, and see, a voice came to him and said, again, what are you doing here, Elijah? And he said, again, I've been very jealous for the Lord, God of hosts, for the children of Israel have forsaken your covenant. They have thrown down your altars, your slaughtering places, and they have killed your prophets. Again, I alone am the last one left. Now, in despair, we see Elijah go through a lot of different things. He wants to take his life. He has to be led out to a cave and shown all of this power. Mountains falling, earthquakes, fire, and then God comes and actually talks to him. And Elijah still doesn't understand. This isn't saying Elijah's a bad person. It's just saying sometimes in despair, you could be shown all types of glorious things of God, and you'll still kind of repeat the same things that you told God before. You see what I'm saying here? Elijah was in a state of pain, a state of hurt. He felt like he was the last one. It felt like he was the only one. We see that Elijah is crying out in despair. Again, I'm not saying that this is 100% relatable, but if you think about it, we did have somebody else cry out in despair in that moment when they was facing death too. It just didn't sound like Elijah telling them, hey, I've done X, Y, Z and all this. It was more so saying, why have you forsaken me? You get what I'm saying here? So Elijah is painting this way, all right? But we see that Elijah is not the perfect way. We just see Elijah as someone who's opening up the door to the understanding the possibilities of miracles, things happening, rain coming, blessings coming before a king. We see that Elijah is creating a way for us to see the coming way of the coming king. All right? Elijah, now remember when we was dogging Ahab about Elijah being the fastest one, getting there before him? Well, Elijah did come. He made the way for the king. Even though he told the rain, or the rain was coming, he still told, he didn't go in the gate. He stood at the entrance. He still made a way for the coming king, even though that coming king wasn't the king that they were going to talk about in the future. So we see that Elijah, why he's called the Waymaker. We see that he paints the way for all of the things that are to come. Now, after everything that has happened with Elijah, God is finally asking that final question, why are you here? He's heard Elijah's case, and he said to him, go, return on your way to the wilderness of Damascus, and you shall go and anoint Hazael, the king of what? Aram. What did it say? Syria and yours? Syria. Aram, Syria. So we know that Syria has now been anointed. Is this the first time they anointed somebody from Aram? All right. So these anointings, oh man, I'm already over time. I'm sorry. These anointings are coming. Let me finish this last part here. Because if y'all want, y'all can go look up Hazael. It's a stone. I forgot the name of it. I have it in my notes, but I don't want to pull up because I won't take too much time. It's the only actual stone that talks about the defeat of Israel. It actually is this when they look over archaeology and history and everything, this stone actually talks about this particular king's defeat over Israel. So when people say it's not etched in history, it actually is. You just have to look at the winners, not the losers. So why would the winners talk about etching things in stone on their feet? When this guy, he etched it and said, hey, we beat them. We beat the house of David. That's actually what the stone said. All right. So he got Aram. And then he said, anoint Jehu, son of Nimshi, as the king over who? Israel. Wait a minute. How are you going to anoint another king while a king is still being there? This is kind of conflictual, ain't it? And anoint who? The next person? Elisha of Shaphat, of Abel Meholoah. Yeah, I got that one. As a prophet in your place. And we're going to stop right there. We're going to put a pin in it because everything from here is now further prophecy for a different side of the story. Like, not so much going off the story, but it's going to take the story into a new area.